Janice Perkins here, and today I wanted to talk about edges, and this is where it comes from. My family and I just recently vacationed in Montana, and we went to the beautiful and glorious Glacier National Park. And we drove on the Going to the Sun Road. And if you've never been there, you should actually Google this. It is a perilous road up a mountain. It's literally carved into the edge of the mountain on the way across Logan Pass. And I have a fear of heights. My kids will tell you it's a fear of heights. And what I like to say, because I love, ever since I was younger, I love climbing trees. I love climbing rock faces. I love rappelling off rock faces. But what I don't like is standing on the edge of things. I can see a beautiful vista and a view as long as I'm not right on the edge. So I can appreciate it from 10 feet back. And so I was teasing them that I have a fear of edges. I don't have a fear of height. And it made me think about an exercise that I use with leaders about our edges. And it comes from an exercise that I learned from the Kansas Leadership Center called the comfort zone. And when you really think about the things in your job that you love and that you're really great at, right? That's where we're comfortable. That's where we feel safe. Those are the things we get out of bed and enjoy about our job. And then there are things about our job relative to people and situations that push us toward the edges of that zone. And when we get to the edges of that zone, that's really not necessarily our best self. And so there's an exercise that I do called the 10-2. And the tend to is really about really being honest with yourself about the things that I tend to do when I get close to my edges, when I get tired, angry, hungry, overwhelmed, stressed out, peopled out, for instance, or situationally challenged. I get near the edges of myself and I tend to do certain behaviors. Now, the people who you work with and the people who you love and live with know these things about you. You just might not be as aware of these or conscious about these. So, I'm going to give you a couple examples. And when I used to work in a corporation and had a team as a leader, when I would get really overwhelmed or challenged, I would tend to stop delegating and over control the work. I'd rather do it myself, right? No, 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 bring it back here. And it's sometimes it's a little bit of a martyr mentality, but it's really about efficiency. It feels like efficiency. It feels like it's the right thing to do. But when I over control the work and I do it all myself, it is from the nature of control and it doesn't ever help me be more successful, for instance. The other thing that I do at home, the thing that I tend to do, is when I get really overwhelmed and tired at the end of the day, I tend to focus on the one thing going wrong, not the 100 things going right. And so that one pair of shoes on the floor or the one glass on the counter, right? The one load of laundry that didn't get taken out of the dryer, the one thing going wrong is catastrophized, right? Or I can be very negative about it. I call that the negative Nelly. And so if you want to take an opportunity to think about what's the thing that you do in the 10 to, I'm going to list off a couple more of them. There aren't a really ton of these because they're all basically different personas that come out of fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. And so there's the cave dweller. The cave dweller likes to shut everyone out and close up. There is the what I call the doom scroller, but the doom scroller also like eats, drinks, shops, doom scrolls, or streams, right? An ineffective amount of things. There's the busy bee. I do this one sometimes, right? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I have a huge project due, and I'm now cleaning out the bathroom closet. Okay. So I find busy things to do, right? To distract me or clean out my Outlook inbox, for instance, is another like example of a busy bee. I can also be a deer in the headlights, right? Or, sometimes this looks like complete shutdown, right? But I'm frozen, right? Or I become ineffective, and I lose decision-making ability. So I don't care. What do you want to do, right? Sometimes at the end of the day, like I don't want to decide what's for dinner. Like I've lost my ability to make decisions. So I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care, right? So that one also happens quite a bit. There's also kind of a not me Teflon, which people just start like dodging things and accountability and start pushing off blame sometimes can also happen. And a really common one that can kind of happen in conjunction with some of the others is the alligator. The alligator likes to bite people's heads, and so you get really short, especially like if I held it together all day at work and was stressed out, and then I go home, I start eating people for dinner, biting their heads off as the alligator. So these are some of the examples of 10-2s. And at those 10-2s, right, why do we talk about the 10-2? It's not so that we feel bad about ourselves. It's not because I want you to make a list of all the things that you do wrong and how overwhelmed you are. It is really to bring it to mind in something called the reticular activation system in your mind. And that sounds really big and important. And it's just this place in your mind where things are told to be filtered as important or not important. So if you've ever gone to buy a new car, like a yellow Corvette, let's say, for instance, all of a sudden you see 8 yellow Corvettes in around your neighborhood, and you think nobody had a yellow Corvette until I wanted to buy one, right? No, it's because your brain filtered out that information until you brought it to mind in the reticular activation system, the RAS, that it was important, and then it started seeing them everywhere. So this is why if you're in a really busy like rock concert or at the county fair, you can hear your best friend call your name or your spouse or your child, because your brain is tuned in to their voices as being important. And so it will bring them to mind and filter out the other noise. Okay. So if we talk about your 10-2 at your edge, then your brain is really conscious about your edges and trying to get back to the best of you. Okay. Because your 10-2 is the very first step of like first degree distress. And it's your job to get back to your best self. And we can do that by thinking about the things in our comfort zone that we're good at, our talent, our gifts, the things we love about our job. And that can help us get strong again. We can do other interventions that can keep us from our edges, the edges, right? If we keep going in first degree distress, we end up in second degree distress. And second degree distress costs us and others a great deal, right? If I hurt other people that I love, not only do I have to, right, get myself to a better place, I have to apologize, go on an apology tour, and get all of them to a better place, whether it's my team at work or my family at home. And so second degree distress can be really costly. Third degree distress is what I call jail time. It's not necessarily a felony, but it requires very big interventions, including therapy and medication and religion and accountability partners and medical, like just so many things. Third degree distress is very damaging to us. It causes despair. So our job at the edges of our best self is to feel first degree distress and not criticize ourselves for having it, because we're human. We're going to go in and out of first degree distress all day long on a regular basis because we're human beings. But our job as leaders is to come back to our best self. Feel distress, there's the edges, come back to our best self, right? And as we grow as people, our edges move. Our edges open up, and we learn the things that our edges that we never are going to be great at, and we outsource those. We find someone else on the team. We hire a vendor. We don't need to avoid things, but we need to recognize some of my edges need to be stretched and some of them need to be delegated, right? It's as simple as that. So there's the exercise about edges, and why it made me think about it in going to Montana is we shouldn't, as leaders, have a fear of our edges in that same way. Thanks for listening.